Hello, you're listening to the Temple of Nuit astrological reading for the Scorpio new moon happening on the 1st of November 2024. My name is Yvonne Wildheart and I'm coming to you from Jojo Woodland Country in Central Highlands, Victoria. So let's look at the chart. Scorpio, new moon, Scorpio, the depths, the transformation, fixed water. It's the part where we go down to the depths. We transmute and move and transform and come out with the tail at the top. In its sort of lower, more density vibration, it would be like, poison and secrets and, all the, um, just thinking of toxicity, really. And just thinking of the tail of the scorpion. So it's ruled by the scorpion. But in its sort of less density, more heart space, more open space, it would be going down to the depths to see what is there so you can transform it, transmute it. It's where you can go down, you love deep and you want to know more. Also, Scorpio, it's a little bit like Virgo in the sense that it just wants to learn more, go deeper, down, down, down. It's not an easy energy to be with, especially if we have been programmed by our families. So I'm just thinking of families who like to sweep all the problems under the carpet and not look at them until they're big and bulgy, and all of a sudden everybody's all over the place because, the carpet is unstable. And I'm just, I'm just thinking of those rugs that have got piles of dust and stuff all piled up, and you can't actually, they're not actually flat anymore, like that. Um, but actually, to lift up the rug and to sweep it out so you can actually clear it and get rid of it. And I think this is what this Scorpio new moon is showing us to do. So this Scorpio new moon is happening, as I said before, on this is Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. It's happening on the 1st of November, Friday, the 1st of November at 11:46 p.m. in the evening. So it's quite late at night. It's happening at 9 degrees and 35 minutes of Scorpio. So have a look if you've got your chart and you know your chart and you know astrology. Even if you don't know astrology, but you have your astrology chart, get it out and have a look where this is falling for you, what area of your life this is falling for you. And it's really interesting. 9 degrees, that is right at the last decan of Scorpio, or the first Scorpio, first decan of the last degree of the first decan in Scorpio. Blah. That was a tongue twister. And so this is like, it's something that we know already. This is a not new information, but we're still learning how to be with it. We're still learning what tools we need to, clear out that rug, or to what tools do we need to take with us to the underworld to be transformed. It's not a comfortable new moon. I think it's something that we've been, we're maybe coming to terms with, that we know, but what do we do now? Like, where do we go now? Like, how do we move it? How do we transform it? Or do we need to sit in it for a bit, considering it is Scorpio and is the depths? Scorpio is ruled by Mars. Mars in Scorpio tends to be a sharpshooter, and it's not like an Aries Mars, which also rules. Mars also rules Aries, but it also rules, traditionally Scorpio. So Mars in Scorpio is more like a sniper. It will take its time. It's a fixed sign, to look where it needs to aim for. But when it does, it's sharp in. So I feel like, if we were to put this in the Scorpionic Mars mind, it's surveying the target, looking for the target. It's like we've found the target, but we're working out what shot needs to happen next to have that one shot point, you know. And so this is the point where we're looking at where we're going to shoot or where we're going to aim for. It's, you know, as I said before, what tools are we getting? We're making decisions here of how do we move through the next phase. But being a new moon, you know, the lead up, the moon comes through in a dark moon phase through um, the first decan of Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto, which is the lord of the underworld, which is also the ruler of um, Scorpio. So before Pluto was discovered, it was Mars, and afterwards it became a scorpionic energy, which is so suited, right? Like, you know, Scorpio, Pluto goes to the depths. It's the underworld. It's going down to the murky depths to see what's there to transmute it and move it, and you know. But the thing is about this energy is that are we getting stuck in fear? Are we paralyzed so much? And remember, this is a fixed sign that we can't figure out what even tools that we have, or we're feeling lost in the depths and the murky depths, and we don't know which way is up and which way is down. And I think maybe at this new moon, and like this is the lead in to, so the dark moon is what are we learning? What do we need to let go of? Which is a dark moon prayer. What do we need to release? Because it's the end of the cycle. This moon started, you know, at an eclipse, you know, at that Aries eclipse point, which was, you know, about 6 or 7 degrees in, not Aries, that was the full moon, the Libran eclipse, which happened at the start of October. Like, this is the end of that cycle. Like, this is the end of the eclipse cycle. And this is like the balsamic point, the rose hip medicine. So what is it after this whole eclipse cycle? What have we learned that we need to let go of? And often when it's associated with Pluto, which is in this case as the moon moves over the decan and Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto, you know, it could bring up a lot of fear. It's like, oh, I know this thing I need to change, I need to release, but fuck, I'm scared. I'm really scared. Like I'm feeling like I'm feeling that too. Like, you know, I think we're all feeling that because we're all being shown you know, what we need to let go of, especially if we have a look up here. If we look at the rulers of this new moon of Scorpio, we have Pluto, final degrees of Capricorn. It's been traveling through Capricorn since 2008. This is it. This is the final moment of, again, it feels like that balsamic moment. It's like the dark moon energy. It's like, well, what are you taking with you? What courage do you have to move through this, whatever you're being shown and moved and transformed over the last 15 years to this point now? Because you know, by the end of October, I mean November, which is the 20th November, Pluto moves into Aquarius for the next 20 years. Like whatever happened over the last 15 years, it's done. But how do you want to end that? Do you still want to go into the next cycle, still hanging on to things that you knew you should have really let go of way back when? So that's happening. So this is like like a distillation. It's like, you know, again, thinking of Pluto, it can be related to fear. Scary to let go of something for forever. It's permanent. Anything that Pluto touches, it's permanent. It's permanent change. You can't go through the underworld and come back and not be changed forever. That's the whole point. Um, you know, but it's also deep riches if we're willing to go down to see what's there, if we're willing to let go of, you know, it, when you come through the underworld, if you have an underworld journey, and we all have, it's when we start to rise up and come back to the surface, you know, and it could be, who knows how long you've been in there for. But when you finally take that moment of just, wow, what's just happened? And you're looking back at the carnage that was, you know, your underworld journey. And it's like, wow, you're always going to be much better off than you were before you started. It's like the necessary transformation that needs to happen to take you to the next place of wholeness. And that is what Pluto is here to show us right now. But look what else is happening. If we talk about the two rulers of this new moon, directly opposite, and this comes exact a day or two afterwards, is an exact opposition between Mars, again, another ruler of Mercury. Oh dear. Um, sorry, a little break there. So directly opposite this Pluto is Mars, the other ruler of this new moon, and they're pushing, pulling against each other. Like Mars in Cancer, last degrees of Cancer, both cardinal signs, final degrees, the anaretic degrees of these cardinal points, cardinal Earth, it's Capricorn, it's the seeding, it's the structure, it's the lineage, the legacy, not lineage, it's the legacy that we are bestowing for the future. It's a transpersonal sign. It's, for the collective. So, what seeds are we planting for the next generations in the structure of the Earth? Versus down here, and I say versus because the opposition's always push, pull, is lineage, mother, the moon, emotions. With Mars here at 29 degrees. Mars, remember the Mars in Scorpio is a sniper. It's one shot, if it's it, but it takes its time. But here in Cancer, it's like it's a frustrated Mars because it can't move the way that it needs to. Um, and it's wanted to protect its home, and so this pushing, pulling, like Pluto is going, come on, transform for the future generations. Like we need to get rid of this now and move it through. You can't take this with you. Whereas Mars is going, but I'm scared. I'm in danger, and I'm going to protect my, my emotional body as much as possible. And so this pushing and pulling between Pluto that wants to move and transform the depths, which could invoke fear, and Mars is going, well, this is really scary. I don't know. This is really feels like it's, I can feel this. I don't know. This feels really bad. I don't think I can do this. And so this push-pull between deep transformation and protecting the emotional body or the home, it's that, oh, you can feel it. It's like, oh, which, but the thing is that Pluto is the stronger planet here. It's the outer planet. It's a permanent transformation. And so how Mars travels through this, it can choose. You can go with it. It's going to be scratchy. It's going to be scratchy no matter which way you look because it is. But ultimately it's Pluto that's going to have its way because it's a transformative energy. So what new moon prayers you can relate to this scorpionic part of your chart is this movement of how do I, I step forward in trust of the transformation, which will help that Mars feel a little bit safer. And the thing is about a crab, when it feels safe, when its home feels safe, the emotional body feels safe, it can open up and, go with the changes. But if it feels scared, remember Scorpio is a lot about, and that Pluto is a lot about that fear and bringing up the depths from little. The call is to be able to go down and go with the willingness to show up to the transformation. And I think that's going to be really important at this new moon because what we're going to see in, for the next month or so, like the next couple of months is actually really big. Mars is going to station retrograde here in December, and it's going to come back over this point, and it's really bouncing back and forth with this Mars and Uranus, Mars and I keep saying Uranus, Mars and Pluto opposition stays here for a long time. When after Mars stations direct, I think it's in February, it will, it still takes a while to come out of this Cancerian moment. It's not until April next year that this happens. So, whatever's happening now, there's a longer story unfolding here. And that, if we, and it's really interesting with this retrograde energy. It's like, how willing are we willing to go to the transformational depths now? Will mean that when the other big changes are happening next year with, Pluto moving to Aquarius and Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries, and then Uranus moving into Gemini and Jupiter moving into Cancer, that's a lot of energy all at once. And if we're still clinging on to the things that we need to deal with the new energy, that feels like hard. That feels like it's going to be hard. I mean, it's like, how, like, the pain. it- it's like the more that we carry it around it's without dealing with it, the more painful it gets. But if we deal with it, when it first comes up, the actual pain, it lasts, it's a shorter amount of time. It's not as burdensome because the more we hang on to it. I'm just thinking of, it's really interesting too, of Atlas, right? There's a comet flying through in Earth's view called Comet Atlas, right? Atlas, you think of the god with the weight of the world on his shoulders, telling us, do you really want to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders? That feels so burdensome because you haven't dealt with it in the first place and it's just getting heavier and heavier. But now there's new energies and new things to deal with that we don't even know the terrain because it's all new. You really want to be hanging on to that. Or here's an opportunity at this new moon to go, right, I can see these things I need to let go of. Yes, it's painful and yes, it hurts, but can we feel safe in this, even when it doesn't? Trust the divine process is all at play. Surrender, and I feel the Scorpio energy is very much about the surrendering. Like, how do we go together? And it's really interesting because from Leo to Scorpio, these are all social planets. Signs, sorry. So it's like, here I am, I see you, you see me. Virgo is like, well, now we've got some work to do. And then by the time we get to Libra, it's like, well, this is where you and I meet. It's the scales, it's love, it's falling in love. And the process to work to that point, there's work to be done before that. But when we hit Scorpio, it's like, well, how do we go deeper with each other? How do we go to those depths together? And when we're going and calling in support like that, that's going it together, whether it's reaching out to a friend or a family member or, a counseling line or, something or somebody saying that we need to do this with somebody or something else. We can't go to these depths alone and feel safe. We need someone else to go with us. And so I really feel at this new moon, we are called to go to these depths, to have the courage to step forth and release what no longer serves, to call in support on the new moon, to let go of the things that you don't want to take into the new energies that are coming through next year. Like, it's all new, 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 like new world, like new world. Like, we haven't experienced this I don't know, certainly not in our lifetimes. This is like revolutionary change for the good. Like, you can't go back. But if we're still carrying things through this portal of transformation, this portal of, new energies, it's going to feel really burdensome. Like it's going to feel so heavy because it's going to feel dense and keep us dense. Like that, you think of, the two, timelines, and, what timelines are you choosing? And, are you reaching for that higher timeline? Are you stepping forward with courage and heart and calling in the support and doing the work that requires us to do that? Or are we just like, Atlas and being weighed down by the weight of the world and going into fear and fear body and scarcity and scared and like that feels really dense. And with Mars going back retrograde in December, it's going to cross back over. And this crisscrossing, as I said, is going to continue on until next year. As all these changes are happening, it's just going to get heavier. Like if we're not letting go of the things as they come up, it's just going to get more weighty and weighty and weighty. So that, yeah, I think this new moon, this Scorpio new moon, is a real call to have the courage to seek out support to help us transform what we can't take with us into the next portal. Everything that Pluto's brought up since 2008, the big transformation in the Capricorn areas of your chart, and this is the harvest of that. And if we're still carrying things that no longer serve us, that don't make us happy, because this is a time that we really need people to find joy. And if we're carrying around a bag full of shit, that's not joyous, right? So let go of it. But the Scorpio energy is calling for us to seek out support to do that, to transmute it. And it's not just for you, it's for all of us, because that's what happens next. After the Scorpio energy, we move into Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is about, going out to the stars and alchemizing it, out and for the collective, from Sagittarius right through to Pisces. They're transpersonal signs. That's a collective sign. So this is how we do the work together. We go to those depths together to transform and transmute and come up again and go and share with the collective or transform it for the collective. Because when we're all doing our work, it has a ripple effect. And if you're not sure about that, call evidence in your new moon prayer, calling for, to be deeply supported in the transformation that I let go with things with ease and grace. And I see evidence of this. Like it will be shown to you. You just call it and ask for it. Yeah. Things that are also playing out. We have Venus here in Scorpio and in Sagittarius. I love how Venus is leading the way, and we speak about that in the Sentient podcast. Oh, one thing we do say in the Sentient Sky podcast that we recorded the other day with Becky, which we'll be releasing shortly, is that there's no hiding now, and this Mars and Pluto will be that. There's no hiding. It's just going to keep pinging back and forth, pinging back and forth, pinging back and forth. And eventually, this moon's going to cross over Pluto. And then it's going to come over towards the end of this lunar cycle and cross over Mars. So the moon is going to be going over these points. There's going to be activation points as well. So I think it's around about the 8th, the moon moves over to Pluto. That's an activation point. But it all starts here. So, where this emotional body, this collective moon that's journeying around the sky, triggering Mercury, who is the messenger to the underworld, right at 28 degrees at this moon, in the moon sign, right? That's a clue. Emotional body, move it. Mercury is about movement. And then alchemizing it with beautiful Venus here in Sagittarius. That's lovely. Like, but making a trine aspect to Chiron here, the wounded healer. So showing us how we become healers of this. And then the moon comes and triggers Pluto. Like that's pretty significant activation point. So watch out for that. And it all happens, it starts at this new moon. So whatever the eclipse portal brought up for you, let go of it. Step through this new moon, calling for deep support, for deep transformation, and trust the process and call in evidence if you don't know, if you want want to see the changes in a very tangible way, because you will be shown. Big, big Scorpio new moon. Big, 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 because of that Mars and your Pluto opposition. But because of the times, it's fucking big already. Like, this is the lead up to all next year. Like, we're in the portal of transformation now, whether we like it or not. And it is really about whether you have the courage to go with it, or like be dragged along kicking and screaming with the weight of the world on your shoulders, which feels really hard. Yeah. Knowing that you are loved and held through this process. Otherwise, it wouldn't be happening. All right. That's it for now. So much love from my heart to your heart. Have a beautiful Scorpio new moon, and we'll see you for the Taurus full moon. Take care. Bye.